I thought that during my honeymoon in Portugal, I would have encountered something. You know, not to say that I encounter Go things very often. I have been surprised in the most unexpected of places and have found just little, just maybe not a full Go club or anything like that, but just something semi related to Go. But through the entire trip, I did not spot any Go related thing ever. I'm sure there are many Go players in Portugal, but I just, I wasn't seeking it out or anything and just never ran into anything, which I don't know why I'm surprised by, but that's what happened. Except on the very tail end of the trip, which was not really in Portugal, but on the flight back, I chose to watch a TV show available on Apple TV called Invasion, and that's a Go term. So, but that's not why it's related to Go. Go is the furthest thing from my mind at this point, but I just saw that this show was about different people interacting with an alien encounter of some kind, and I thought it might have been interesting, so I just watched it. And during this show, there's this one. So it's the premise of the show is that they show different scenes from different people from all around the world, following several storylines at once, all having to do with interacting with some weird alien encounter. And one of the storylines starts off with it's a fictional space organization called JAXA, which is a Japanese aerospace organization, kind of like NASA, but in Japan. I think the actual one is called JAXA. I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's JAXA. But anyway, there's a couple of aerospace engineer employees and their coworkers, and they're talking to each other. And in the middle of the discussion, the girl looks at the guy's screen and sees that he's playing Go, comments on the moves he's making, saying that if he goes a certain place, a computer will go another place, and berates him for his strategy or something like that. But I was shocked to see a Go board in the middle of the screen there at that moment, because that was the last place I expected it to pop up. But I thought it was really cool because celestial bodies of sorts is kind of like a common metaphor for Go. Namely this podcast, it's kind of space themed because of the term Starpoint. And I think also the fact that aerospace professionals would actually be in a subset of people that are maybe a little higher chance to actually play Go, let alone, Japanese aerospace engineers. Actually kind of realistic, I think, for this particular character to actually be playing Go, instead of just kind of shoehorned in some other smart, eclectic person who probably wouldn't have grown up playing Go. I don't know. But anyway, I thought it was cool. Another note, I got married. That's why I went on a honeymoon. So I'm a Mr. Well, I was always been a Mr., but official Mr. now, more official Mr. And my buddy, who I play Go with, he visited for the wedding and dropped me off a little cool figurine of Hikaru from Hikaru no Go. It's like a little miniature figurine, and he's holding a black stone, and he's wearing his classic 5 t-shirt. Does anyone know what that t-shirt signifies? Why it's always a number 5 on it? Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Thanks to him. You're listening to Starpoint, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board, and it's a new season. Season 3. Y'all are still with me, and we're going to dive into a brand new episode of Starpoint. Super excited. I missed interacting with y'all. I have been super busy. I'm not as busy as before, let's be honest, but I am still kind of busy. I haven't been playing Go. I haven't been playing any Go. Even Correspondence Go, I almost kind of took a break. It was my first time using the vacation mode on OGS, I always got frustrated at other people for using vacation mode sometimes, because I'm like trying to play this game and suddenly they would go on vacation and the game would never end. But honestly, I lost a game because on time on correspondence on OGS, because I was traveling and I wasn't able to keep up with my moves, and I lost the game and I was like, oh man, okay, I gotta set myself on vacation mode right now. And I went on vacation mode for the first time ever. I've never used any of my vacation time. If you don't know, it's a little switch you turn on. It's kind of like accruing PTO or vacation time. Well, it is called vacation time, but it's kind of like the more you play and the more you go without using it, the more time you amass to a limit. And then once you've amassed this vacation time, you can turn it on and your clocks and correspondence will just stop until you run out of vacation time. It's a cool little mechanic. I mean, it has its uses. I mean, clearly I had a use for it during my trip. Had a fantastic time in Portugal, but no Go. Yeah. So I've been itching to get back into the Go scene. Gonna be playing some kind of Fox game here and there probably at some point when things settle down. But I am feeling rusty. I am feeling the rust. I was at the gym today, and this is something I do sometimes when I'm on like a cardio machine, like a treadmill or the Stairmaster as it was today. I put my phone up like on the ledge, and I put some Sumego problems on there. And I don't know how many of y'all tried this before, putting Go problems up while exercising. I suggest not doing it when you're doing heavy lifting exercises, but I think for cardio, it's fairly safe. If you've tried it, you'll know that it kind of messes with your brain. At least it does for me. It takes up resources from your head, and you get like a debuff of reading power, and it's really hard. You start to read it out, and you know that like exhaustion feeling you get while you're doing reading problems, and you just don't feel like reading anymore. It's kind of like a loss of will while you're doing problems. That happens like instantly. Like I can solve things that are to Tsuji, like I recognize certain patterns, like the easy ones, and I'm like, okay, that one's Atari, and I'm good. I know the shape, blah, blah, blah. But if it's something that requires a few steps of reading, I just freeze. And it's really hard to do it while exerting yourself to any degree in a cardiovascular exercise. So, but it's an interesting one. I wonder how motivated, I had this thought today while I was doing it. I was thinking, how motivated would I be to solve the problem if I couldn't get off the machine until I did? then I maybe I might try harder, but I didn't put that requirement on myself. So I went through a few of them. I did okay. So although I'm feeling rusty, I still feel like your Go skill is, I think, more evergreen than a lot of skills that you acquire throughout your life. But anyway, I'm going to try to ease back into it. I think the thing is that I'm always aware that taking a break from something, you don't lose the base wisdom and knowledge foundation that you've built over the years, but something you do lose is the little bit of the sharpness of the technical, the little reading things. I know as soon as I hit Fox, I'm going to feel rusty. But overall, I think the understanding of the game just lasts till, I don't know, until you start kind of declining with age. But anyway, got a couple of news highlights here today I want to cover. And then we're going to go into some listener mail catch up, because there's like if listener mail was physical, there would be somewhat of a pile on my desk. So I want to get through what I can today. If not getting through all of it, I will get through it next week. Thank you so much for joining me for Season 3. And congratulations to Guan Yu Song, who has become the newest North American pro. So there's an article here written by Chris Garlock, who does most of the coverage for the AGA on the website, that I want to kind of read through. Song outlasts Yoder to become North America's newest pro. An quote-unquote exhausted Guan Yu Song prevailed over the tenacious Eric Yoder Thursday night at the National Go Center to become the newest professional Go player certified by the North American Go Federation. Complete tourney results here. The decisive second round match stretched nearly 4 hours, went 257 moves, and featured multiple complex battles, mirroring the intensity of the morning's 3-hour, 229-move game. Michael Redmond, 9P, provided live commentary for a large and appreciative audience on YouTube and Twitch, also reviewing the morning round and several semifinal highlights. Oh man, that does sound exhausting to play 3 hours on a single game and then 4 hours on another game. And these are not just casual games. They're very intense, highly competitive games. I can't imagine. I bet you many calories were burned during this tournament. I mean, if you don't know, there was a study and they found out that chess players burn thousands of calories at tournaments. And I believe it, because if you've been to a tournament and you've actually spent and exerted the energy that it takes to focus on your games as much as even just like a fraction of what these professionals do, you'll know it feels very exhausting and that you'll feel very drained from it. So, oh man, that's just a marathon. It's just kind of like a neck and neck marathon for the competitors. Following the victory, AGA President Gurjeet Khalsa presented Song with his NAGF professional certificate, congratulating him on his achievement in the week-long tournament. Song also collected the $2,000 top prize, while runner-up Yoder took home $1,000. Song accredited his preparation to playing extensively and studying Joseki. I wound up messing up a lot of them, he admitted with a smile. Asked what advice he'd give aspiring players, Song drew a comparison to his work as a machine learning engineer. Definitely play more games. When we train models, if you get more data, if you spend more time training, it will get better. So this is nothing new. If you've ever heard any advice from anybody on how to get better, many of them, but not all, will say play lots of games. Play as many games as you can. Another, I think, a noteworthy addition or a noteworthy detail here is that he studied Joseki quite a bit. And, I think at a higher level, it is always very relevant. But I did listen to an All Things Go episode with an interview with Eun-Gyo Do from Go Inside, who I've talked about several times on this show. For her excellent Joseki videos, and she preaches that Joseki is actually quite good for you to study, and I have taken that to heart, let's say, and I did an episode on Joseki a while back, and I've compared it to many things like practicing patterns in martial arts and things like that, but I don't know. I just feel like this is another example of the importance of studying Joseki. I'm on Camp Joseki, and I know there are people who think Joseki may not be the best way to improve, but I like Joseki. I mean, not only the fact that I think maybe it's a good way to improve, I actually just find studying Joseki enjoyable. So that's what I do it. And, one of the pieces of advice you hear sometimes is do what you enjoy, right? Study what you enjoy and study what you're good at and just lean into that rather than, forcing yourself to do things that you don't like. Finishing the article off here, looking ahead, Song said he feels confident about facing most pros in North America and is eager to compete in professional tournaments. For him, the attraction of Go remains profound. Like math and physics, it is very elegant. It has a real beauty. That encapsulates the spirit of Go, I think, quite a bit. It's simply just a beautiful thing. I don't know how to put it. It's like a flower to me. is like nature, right? Nature is beautiful. You look at a tree and it's like, wow, that's beautiful. And there's nothing else to explain, right? There's nothing else to explain. You just got to take it in. I mean, you can do a critical analysis of a tree and say like, oh yeah, it's beautiful because the contrast of the leaves, I don't know. But that's kind of deconstructing it pointlessly, I think. And it's just a beauty that you have to experience for yourself. And I think any mathematician who has experienced beauty in numbers will agree. Any physicist who also has experienced beauty in discovering how the physical world works will agree. And then Go players. We play this game and we realize that as we play the game, we're able to perceive beauty in the game. And then it's just magical. I think it's just like, if something's beautiful, you should appreciate it, right? Condolences to Eric Yoder. He's been eyeing that pro spot, I think, for a while now. It's just kind of been bubbling underneath the candidates who eventually make it. He's been runner-up a few times now. But I mean, I think that... Look, okay, so here's the thing. I saw a video of, you guys know what Geometry Dash is? It's this, I'm not super familiar with it, but it's like a crazy platformer kind of game. And it can get very, very difficult. It's kind of like you time your jumps and everything. And the people who are really good at it are insane. I saw a clip of somebody who was about to achieve a record of something that has never been done by any human before. And he messed up on the very last input of the game, and he just kind of broke out. He just lost it. And okay, I totally sympathize with that. I would lose it as well. But if you get to that point, I've always so I like challenging video games sometimes, and I guess that kind of that's indicative in the fact that I play Go, because Go is a very challenging game. But I do like the games that you have to kind of grind away to build up your skill. Namely, things like I was into what's it called, Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy for a while. Just do a quick Google search of that game. Some of you may recognize it and go, okay, I remember that game. Some of you may look at it and go like, what the heck is this? But it's like a very frustrating game that when you play, you feel like you can't do anything, and your hammer just doesn't work, and you're like this guy in a cauldron, and you have a hammer, and you're trying to climb this pile of junk to get to the top, and it's mechanically incredibly challenging. But and what makes it more challenging is that while you're going, if you mess up sometimes, you'll just fall and you'll lose all of your progress and you'll be ridiculed by the narrator as it happens. So while I was playing that, and eventually I would reach some peak that I had never reached before. And it would be a glimpse of like, oh my goodness, I'm about to get to the next part. And then I would invariably screw up and lose all my progress. And that's obviously disappointing, but when you get to a point where you glimpse something, I think it means that you're on the precipice of actually overcoming and becoming the next level. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you've seen it, right? It's like you're going in a dark tunnel and you don't see anything. You don't see any light, and it's very hopeless feeling. But then all of a sudden you see a glimmer. And okay, maybe that glimmer disappears as you turn the corners and things like that, but you saw it. And so you're just like, okay, I know I'm making some progress. And so what I'm trying to say here is that perhaps Eric Yoder has reached this kind of high peak that was just not quite enough. I feel like if he's on the right trajectory, he will make it eventually. But we'll see. We'll see how he's going to do in his career, and see if he becomes the next or the first non-Asian American pro. Because I see that all the North American Go Federation pros are Asian American or Asian Canadian. which, I mean, you'd expect because culturally, the Asian Americans would be more aware of the game and more encouraged to play. So I'm looking forward to a little more diversity in that front. So good luck on your future endeavors. And then the next piece of news here that I wanted to cover, we have a world champion. Alexander Chi makes US Go history. This is pretty crazy news. Basically, there is a tournament called the World Youth Go Championship. So this is not like the pro tournament, but it's like age capped. And the junior division, I think, is under 14, and the senior division is maybe under 18 or something like that. And some really big names have come out of the champions of this tournament. Like Gu Li won the 11th junior division of the World Youth Go Championship when it was held in San Francisco. The junior division is actually under 12, and the senior is under 18. Ke Jie is also another champion of this tournament who won the 25th junior in 2008 when it was held in Guiyang, China. And he also won the 28th as a senior in 2011 in Bucharest, Romania. So this is a very international tournament, and it's very big because it's a world championship. It's just a little bit age capped, right? So let me go through this. This is another Chris Garlock article. The US Go community is celebrating a historic breakthrough as Alexander Chi, 1P, became the first player representing a non-East Asian country to win the World Youth Go Championship. So it's not even a non-Asian, but non-East Asian. So the World Youth Go Championship has always been, the champion has always been from an East Asian country, probably just China, Korea, Japan, maybe Taiwan, Singapore, something like that. Singapore is considered Southeast Asian. Okay, anyway, his victory at the tournament's 40th edition, held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, from August 21st to 26th, marks a milestone moment not just for American Go, but for the global Go world. That is crazy. That is huge for someone like Alexander Chi to win something like this. That is incredible. I'm so stoked. This is the kind of progress that I love hearing about for Western Go. Widely regarded as the most prestigious youth competition in the game, the World Youth Go Championship has long been known as the cradle of world champions. Its alumni include the legendary figures such as Lee Chang-ho and Ke Jie. Now, for the first time, that roll of honor includes a player from the United States. I looked at all the winner names and I couldn't find Lee Chang-ho on the list. But if that's true, that's really crazy too. A tough road to the finals. Competing in the elite U18 division, Chi faced an exceptionally strong field. 4 professional players and one of Korea's top inse. His path to the finals was anything but certain. He narrowly advanced from the preliminaries, securing the 4th and final semifinal slot by a razor-thin margin, a single tiebreaker point. That underdog position set the stage for one of the tournament's defining moments. In the semifinals, Chi stunned observers by defeating Li Xihan, a 2P professional from China and the event's top seed. The tense, closely fought game showcased both his tactical precision and his ability to thrive under pressure. Yo, that's so cool. Like, imagine, you wouldn't be able to help write off the American representative in these games. They've never won. No one has ever won. And so how can you enter this tournament not looking down a little bit on the American contestant, right? I'm just assuming, if I was competing and I was from Korea or China or Japan and I was playing against these people I'm like, okay, no, I'm not worried about the American dude. I'm worried about the Chinese dude. I'm worried about the Japanese dude. Like, I'm not worried about them. And then you end up playing them against the finals, and you're like, what's going on here? Why is there an American at the finals? I'm curious if anybody knows. What is Alexander Chi's style like? Does anyone have any insight into the actual games played? I may go ahead and review them and just kind of see what happened. But if anyone has any insights on how the games played out or what Alex Chi's style is, please comment and let me know. Seizing the title, in the championship match, Chi faced Shim Hoi-jun, a top Korean Insei widely expected to dominate. But from the opening moves, Chi demonstrated a remarkable composure and strategic clarity. He seized an early advantage, methodically expanded his lead, and never allowed Shim a chance to recover. When the final stones were set, Chi had not only won the game, but rewritten the history of the tournament. A landmark moment for US Go, Chi's triumph represents the first time the World Youth Go Championship title has gone to a player from outside East Asia. For American Go, it is a watershed moment, one that will inspire a new generation of young players to pursue the highest levels of competition. Also representing the United States was Denis Kuvshinov, who competed in the U12 division. The team was led by veteran coach Mingju Jiang, 7P, who praised both young players for their commitment and fighting spirit. With this breakthrough, Alexander Chi has carved out a place in Go history. More than a personal victory, his achievement signals the growing strength of Go in the United States and the promise of what's to come. Very optimistic article. I love to hear it, and I hope it is the sign that more is coming from the West. I'd love to see a European champion. And if Alex Chi can give a run for the money of the top professionals in East Asia, that would be very exciting. And I'm sure many people who are pursuing the path of, or everybody, I would say everybody in the United States who's pursuing the path of becoming a professional will be inspired by this event. And congratulations to Alex Chi, and thanks for representing the US Go community. If you want to learn more about Alexander Chi, if you're curious like I was, Vadim from Go Magic actually did an interview about a month ago with him, and there's a YouTube video, so I link that in the description for you. And I also link the 2 articles that I read from usgo.org in the description if you're curious and you want to read for yourself with your own eyes after listening to me reading them. But now it's time for the DDK Advice Corner, and the tip of the day is, instead of attacking, leave your opponent one-legged. Now that might sound a little cryptic, but it's our instinct in this game to try to make our opponent feel uncomfortable and force our opponent into uncomfortable positions by doing things to them. But we can just as easily make ourselves comfortable and make our opponents one-legged, or kind of just, instead of forcing them to be uncomfortable, you let them be uncomfortable. Does that make sense? If you leave them alone and you realize that they don't have what it takes, this is namely a base. The most common example of this would be a base, right? They don't have a base. Instead of just prodding and poking at them, you can just leave them alone. Do your own thing. They have to make a base at some point, and you'll gain tempo from that, either later on in the game or sooner. And they will owe you a move in that space, and that is a very valuable thing to have on the board. And now it's time for listener mail. Alrighty, let's try to tackle this. Andy writes, "Hi Justin, I'm a lapsed listener and haven't played any Go in a while. I started picking out odd episodes to entertain myself and perhaps reignite some passion for Go." Good idea. I actually think that's something that I do myself when I feel like I've lost the spark. I just look for Go content and things that make Go look cool. and people talking about Go just always makes me want to play it again. Thanks for talking in so much depth about how you work with your files. I've considered doing something similar, but I wondered if it was worth the effort. Clearly you think it is, and that's helpful to know. Oh yes, I don't know what episode I mentioned them, but yeah, I had like this folder system of like all the games. I just like keeping records. I think there's just this attitude I have of like hoarding, but also it is helpful sometimes when you're just like, how did I play at some point in time here and there, and then extracting the problems of that time. But I do need to go back and extract the value from those that I built in. Otherwise, it's just writing things down and then moving on and then never reaping the benefits of it, Have you ever considered putting your problems into a spaced repetition program like Anki for practice? I've definitely considered it. I think I've considered a lot of things, and I have not done a lot of things. So yes, I've considered it, but I think that it's a little tricky because, as soon as you start doing something like that, you run into a lot of specifics about how you're supposed to do it, like how often are you going to do it, and what kind of problems are going to be allowed? How are you going to store the problems? I actually am not familiar with Anki. I assume it's some kind of a flashcard program. So it takes a lot of mental energy to kind of plan it out and make a structure and format that works, and then also figure out a time schedule for like when you will do it. So it's actually quite a big commitment, but it is a good idea. In the episode, you started talking about making problems from your games, and I immediately thought of Kaz. A few moments later, you mentioned that your former teacher Kaz. Haha. I've taken one lesson from Kaz, which was very detailed and contained some nice concentrated directions on improvements I could make. My playing stalled a bit after I received his materials. I have an excuse. I was buying a house. Okay. Yeah, Okay, let me actually continue reading first. Now I am considering signing up for Kaz's 10-lesson series. I wondered, how was your experience with Kaz as a teacher? So I took 2 lessons from Kaz, and they were great. The thing that I liked about Kaz and what attracted me to Kaz in the first place was that his lessons were simply annotations, right? They're not video lessons. You don't have to schedule anything. And he's in Japan, so it would be hard to do such a thing. And he's a former Insei, if you want to know about his credentials. But you basically send him some games, and then he will review them for you and make problems for you and things like that. And I thought it was great. I think that he can see your problems really clearly right away. But you do need to put in some work, and I guess it's been a while. And I think that in my experience, when I first reached out to him, there was one style of lesson that he provided. And then the second time I reached out to him, he provided a slightly different style of lesson because he changed his format a bit. And it wasn't as in-depth as my first time. So I'm not quite sure where he's at right now, but I do know he knows what he's talking about, and that if you're going to commit to something like that, the 10-lesson series, you should definitely commit to practicing the lessons. And he emphasizes repetition of his materials quite a bit on his website. And yeah, I mean, I think he's a great teacher. I just I think you get what you reap what you sow with that kind of lesson. And that's like the same thing with any teacher. A teacher really is just someone who helps you practice. But then this is really, hands-off practice. Like he will write what you need to do and what your mistakes are, but you really need to put in the work. Otherwise, it's not really going to do much for you. I need to go back to my Kaz lessons, because some of them are quite difficult, and they will take a while for you to understand. And that's the thing I noticed with him, is that he kind of gives you a range. At least he did for me. I can't say what he's doing now, but he gave me like a kind of a range of problems, like simple mistakes that I made that I can easily understand what I did wrong, and then like he kind of ramped up the difficulty in phases. And so even the medium ones for me, they're very difficult. I can go back and I will look at them and I'll probably get them wrong again. Like, probably won't remember. I'll probably got kind of like, I kind of remember what I was supposed to do, but I don't remember. So I really got to go back and review. And I think, honestly, my philosophy here is I got to memorize those problems and like really like hammer them into my brain. But anyway, I'm rambling about Kaz. I had a great experience with the lessons that I got from him. I only got 2 lessons. But if you liked, take a lesson, and if you liked it, then if you liked his lesson, then go for it. And if you have the money to spare and the time to commit to review all the lessons, then I don't see why not. It's a great way to boost your game, I think. And also, it's he remembers you as an individual, so he will be able to know what you're struggling with. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Okay, continuing on the mail, it seems to me he would be good for supercharging the DDK to SDK journey. As he likes to point out, the more games one plays, the more bad habits become ingrained. And having a teacher like him systematically removes one's bad habits seems like a great idea. So this is a little bit of a controversial side of Kaz, is that he really discourages playing a lot of games. I think I saw one of his articles that said that you really only need to play like once a week, and that you shouldn't be playing all week like a lot of American adult players. And I don't know, he has a lot of experience teaching people, so he has his own philosophy. And somebody else who's just as strong will disagree with him. So, I think the thing about getting a teacher is that you kind of have to look at the teacher's philosophy and think is that something that gels with me? Is that something I agree with? Does that make sense to me? And then just commit and then accept that that's your teacher and you should listen to your teacher. And I think that's a better way to do it rather than cherry picking from all the teachers. Continuing, I wonder if relying on someone else to spot the mistakes might mean one's own mistake spotting muscles atrophy, but perhaps the skill will just improve naturally. Or perhaps the student could self-review and see which one of Kaz's lessons can be predicted. Finally, are there any other teachers you'd recommend? Thanks again for all the great episodes, Andy. Well, thank you for your listener mail, and to answer your final few questions, I think the point here is that you're getting mistakes that you can't see, that you are unaware of and you don't know about. That is why you're getting a teacher, not because they're spotting the mistakes for you. Although I do see that there could be some situation where they're pointing out things that you really should see, and then you're getting lazy, then have nothing to say to you really. And the thing is that you had asked a question here. Perhaps the student could self-review and see which of Kaz's lessons could be predicted. One of the things I really appreciated about Kaz's first lesson with me, which I kind of missed the second time I went around, is that he asked me a lot of questions about my game. What do you think this move is right, or do you think it's just fine? Right? He would say something like that. And he would say okay, what about over here? Can you find a better move than this one? And he would not do this as a problem, but to probe what I understood. And I really liked that about him. I think that I think there was an episode I did, what teachers get wrong. I think teachers should spend more time probing their students to see what's going on in their brains. And so I think that the Kaz wants to make you think first before he tells you what to do. And I really appreciated that. And then having that second person there really made me try harder to do that. So, and then about the teachers I recommend, I'm sorry, I don't actually have a lot of experience with teachers. He's one of the few, and then just kind of casual, the community is always great. So unfortunately, I don't have any recommendations there. But anyway, thank you so much for your listener mail. Moving on to the next one, Jonah writes, "Hi Justin, I have a response to a prompt from one of the early 40 episodes. You asked us to tell you about some time that we played with a stranger in person. Yes, I kind of remember that. Okay, I reached out to all the people within an hour of me on the Baduk.club map and got someone to respond. We met up in a mall somewhere between us and got to play. It was a really great experience. He was a really great person, and like a lot of people in the community, he was super excited to share the game with a noob. I was around 25Q, and he was around 4Q, so I learned a lot. That's one of the great things about this game. I love that it's just this teaching community, and like whoever is learning loves that they're learning, and whoever is teaching loves that they're sharing their knowledge. It's such a nice symbiotic community. Now we try to meet about every other week on Thursdays. I struggle getting myself to play online, but I love the tactile experience of playing, and I struggle with social relationships through screens, so I have to strongly suggest that folks get accounts on Paduk.club and reach out to find folks. More praise for Paduk.club. I mean, it's such a great resource for Go players. I'm curious if you want to maybe detail this or not. Up to you, but the mall, where in the mall? Like, did you play in like one of the lobby like open space areas, or did you go to like a Starbucks or something? I'm just like curious about the specifics sometimes. I live in a super rural area in Massachusetts, but if more folks show up on the map, then maybe someday we can get a club going in Central Mass. Yeah, that would be awesome. I could drone on for a while about the game, so I will keep it lean and cut it here. I love the show. I think I listened to 40 episodes in 2 weeks, so keep up the good work. Thanks, Jonah. 40 episodes in 2 weeks. Wow. That's like an episode every day, or several episodes in a single day. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for your support. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. Andrew writes, "Hi Justin, I wanted to share the first deep insight in Go I've had in a very long time. I've been at a plateau as a borderline Don level player for several years, but now I feel like I've finally broken through and I am seeing concrete results in my games, though there are still growing pains to be sure. It happened during a pro lecture by Antti Tormanen, 1P, at the US Go Congress this summer. In short, it's about knowing when to tanuki by understanding that the value of a well-timed tanuki has a kind of depreciation over the natural arc of every game. Well, I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds very interesting, and I'm very interested to hear you explain this, because I think tanuki is such an important part of the game, and it's such a unique aspect of the game. You don't have tanukis in chess because it's too small for tanukis. So let's read more. Here's what Tormanen explained. In the opening, every reasonable big move, taking a corner, making an approach, creating an enclosure, etc., has approximately the same value of about 10 to 12 points, as calculated by AI in terms of the cost of passing. Technically, it starts with the highest value of 12 by taking an empty corner, then steadily decreases as more moves are made. Obviously, not every big move has exactly the same value, but it's close enough for us mere mortals. Only high-level Don or pro players need to care about the minute differences. This means that during the opening, as you play out a local sequence, you should tanuki if the continuation of that sequence is worth less than about 10 to 12 points. You know, that's really hard to judge, though, because, like, especially when you're playing out Joseki, like, clearly Joseki are valuable, right? But then when you start thinking about it and you like do the attached Joseki and you hane and then they extend and you're like, wait a second, is my next move really worth 10 to 12 points? And it's hard. It's really hard to judge that. Continuing. As you shift into the middle game, there are fewer opportunities on the board. More is settled, and the average value of the biggest remaining moves decreases steadily to around 6 to 8 points. We can all generally recognize when we've entered the mid-game. If we are in a local fight at that time, we should tanuki if the continuation would be worth less than 6 to 8 points. You can see where this is going. During the endgame, the average value of big moves decreases towards 3 to 5 points. The same tanuki principle applies, although in this stage you or I might be able to calculate the actual best moves rather than relying on averages. The game is over when there are only negative or zero value moves left. Okay, that's easy enough to understand, and it totally makes sense to me, and it kind of describes the concept of temperature of a game where the game doesn't have the same value moves throughout the game. And generally speaking, in the beginning of the game, the moves are more valuable, and at the end of the game, the moves are less valuable. Although there are hotspots in the game where the moves are incredibly valuable, even maybe more valuable than in the opening. And those spots, like, you really have to not Tanuki, and you have to play that area, because that's probably where it's like something's gonna die if you don't. The upshot is that whoever has better Tanuki timing will more frequently take the biggest moves on the board. This is obviously conducive to winning. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. I think the thing is that it's good practice to think about taking the best, biggest value moves on the board. That's obviously how you win. But if you take a concept as concrete as Tanuki timing and use that as a yardstick of like gaining that optimal efficiency throughout the game, I think that is a solid way to maybe build that. So I'm gonna have to try to take that advice and see how that plays out for me. But I find it very challenging to put myself in that mindset to say like, oh, are the moves 6 to 8 points right now? Like, it's really hard. I think it's easier said than done. Maybe I had a confirmation bias, but this honestly seemed like a lesson all the pros at the Congress were trying to hammer home in different ways. For example, Yin Sung Hwang 8 Dan offered the principle, don't be the last one moving, by which he meant the last one moving in a local sequence. If you can Tanuki, you should. Amusingly, he used the red light, green light game from Squid Game to make it memorable. Ryan Lee 4P made a similar point, saying that your first impulse should always be to Tanuki. Yeah, I like that attitude. Because it's like, I don't Tanuki enough, and I'm scared of Tanukiing, and it makes me uncomfortable, and I need that kind of advice to just be like, you should always think Tanuki is the way. And I think I should just force myself to Tanuki when I feel uncomfortable Tanukiing, honestly. So your first impulse should always be to Tanuki rather than following the local flow dictated by your opponent. And I think it was Michael Chen 1P who talked about focusing on what he called drift, or steadily collecting points, rather than making desperate all-or-nothing moves when you are trying to pull off a come-from-behind win. Oh man, I'm so attracted to those all-or-nothing moves. So it's hard. Drift, as I understood it, is about collecting those big value moves before they inevitably dwindle away over the course of the game. You know what it reminds me of is the idea of incremental. What was the phrase? I talked about it a couple episodes ago. Something where you take all the little things and you improve all the little things and they become one big improvement. There was a phrase, I just forgot what it was. These lessons all resonated, but I think it was only Tormanen who presented the idea in a context that made it practicable for me by explaining Tanuki against the background progression of the average move values. I hope this made some sense. It has seriously changed how I perceive the game. It was a rare experience, like flipping a switch in my brain. Afterward, I couldn't help but wonder why no one had told me this before, and it made me want to share it with other players. Best, Andrew. Thank you so much for that listener mail. I love that kind of cerebral advice towards the game. I think that this is such a difficult game, and different ways of describing the game make it click for different people. And so it's always helpful to have these different perspectives and different ways of describing how you should think about certain things and what kind of mental strategies you have to put into action these difficult concepts. So this is another one. And I think I like that you reminded me of the Tanuki thing, because Tanukiing is really something I think that I need to work on. And using it as a measuring stick is definitely a reasonable way to look at it. So thanks for that. Thanks for sharing your insights there. And I'm happy to hear that you've kind of had an epiphany here through this. So thanks for writing in. I got some more listener mail left to read, and I will cover that in the next episode. So stay tuned, and if you haven't heard your listener mail and you've sent in your listener mail for the last 2 episodes, don't worry, I'll get to it next week. And the question of the week this week is, have you traveled outside of the country or traveled at all and played Go or found Go in a place other than where you live or around the area that you are? So if you want to share your thoughts on that question, or if you have a Go story to share or have a question you want to ask me, leave a comment wherever you found this episode, or email me directly at starpointbaduk@gmail.com. That's starpointbaduk@gmail.com. If you're a YouTube listener, I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe, and if you're a podcast listener, reviews and ratings also help. A very special thanks to James B., Tristan, Jeff H., and Engineer GPT for supporting Starpoint. And if you want to support the show in any capacity, you can go to kofi.com/starpointpaduk. That's KO-FI, or check out the Starpoint store at store.starpointpaduk.com. And come on over to the Discord. The water's warm. People are chatting about Go. You can find the link in the description. And someone sent in a groaner of a joke here. What does the Honimbo wear when he goes running? Shoes, socks, you. Oh man. That was sent in by Clay. Thanks for the joke. Thanks for listening, and keep playing Go.